Just 2 years ago, buyers were fighting over almost every home. Now it looks very different. Homes are sitting longer, buyers are slower to move, and it's not unusual to see price reductions or sellers offering credits to get deals done. Today I'm breaking down exactly why the power in Seattle has completely flipped. After helping nearly 1,000 families move around the city, I'll show you the big problems nobody's talking about. So most sellers think the housing boom we saw some years ago is still the new normal. But the math in 2026 is about to give them a very rude awakening. Let's look at the numbers catching people off guard. Sellers expected 2021 to last forever, but it really only lasted about 14 months. Back in 2021 and 2022, you listed your home and had multiple offers in days. Buyers waived inspections and offered way over asking just to get in the door. That world created some expectations that are really hard to shake. A lot of sellers today are still mentally priced for that world. They're expecting the same energy and the same bidding wars, but the reality is that buyers now are approaching this completely different. They're math driven, they're calculating monthly payments down to the dollar, and they're comparing homes side by side for weeks. The fear of missing out is gone. It's been replaced by being careful. Buyers know there are options because inventory is higher. Later on, I'll show you how that caution is leading to record credits that are leading the whole nation. They know sellers need them more than they need any specific house. But for now, what sellers are feeling as desperation is really just some market going back to normal. Both sides have power again. Pricing has to reflect real value now, not just what you hope to get. This brings us to what's actually creating all that pressure. It starts with a number most sellers didn't see coming. But first, a quick note before we dive deeper. If you're trying to figure out if now is the right time to sell your Seattle home or what your property is actually worth in this new market, I'm here to help. My contact info is in the description below. All right, let's get back to it. You might hear people say there's a shortage of homes, but the data in King County is telling a much scarier story for sellers right now. Let's look at the numbers that are actually causing the panic. King County just crossed 3 months of inventory. It's the highest supply level we've seen since before the rate shock. And that single number explains why sellers are panicking. As of early 2026, we're seeing over a 25% increase in active listings compared to last year. Inside Seattle city limits, we're sitting at about 3 months of supply. Anything above 3 months starts tipping the market towards buyers having more options and way more control. More inventory means sellers aren't just competing for buyers anymore. They're competing with every other seller who's got a similar home in a similar price range in the same neighborhood. When buyers open their search app, they're seeing 10, 15, or even 20 homes stacked side by side. Buyers can now afford to be picky, right? They can take their time. They can schedule showings across 2 or 3 weekends. Every new house that hits the market gives them one more reason to wait and see if something better comes along. For sellers, this means standing out matters again. Pricing your home aggressively matters. Condition matters, presentation matters. And once we look at the big problems forcing certain sellers to list, you'll understand why some homes are getting aggressive with their price while others are holding firm. Now, when your home is sitting on the market for weeks, potential buyers start asking questions. Why hasn't this sold? What's wrong with it? If there's anything wrong, there might not actually be anything wrong. The clock just creates perception problems that are very hard to fix. Days on market equals psychological leverage. Most sellers think the asking price is their biggest hurdle. There's a different number on your listing that's actually doing way more damage to your bottom line. How long has your listing been active? Because today that number is doing more damage than your asking price. In January 2026, the citywide average for days on market hit 62 days. That's up from 46 days just 1 year ago. More importantly, the impact changes a lot depending on what you're selling. Single-family homes are running about 3 to 4 weeks from listing depending. If you've got a move-in ready house in a good neighborhood, you're still moving at a decent pace. But condos, totally different story. Traditional condos are sitting in the market for 40 or over 60 days or more. Downtown condos in areas like Belltown are seeing inventory levels well above the balance line, with periods some closing at 6 to 8 months of inventory. Townhomes fall somewhere in the middle, averaging around a month. They're a good balance between the space of a house and the price of a condo. Here's the most important part. If your home doesn't go pending in the first 2 or 3 weeks, buyers start to get suspicious. Every extra week on the market tells a buyer they can negotiate harder. They'll ask for more credits, they'll take their sweet time making a choice. In the old market, you could overprice your house and the market would eventually catch up. Today, if you're off by even a little bit, the market's going to tell you on day one. For years, sellers could list their home high and just wait a bit. The market was moving so fast that it would bail you out, but that safety net is gone. Right now, median prices are holding in the low to mid 800s. Single family homes are sitting around 1 million and condos have dropped to the mid 500s. These numbers aren't crashing. They just aren't growing anymore either. So you've got three choices. Sit and wait, you can cut your price, or you can offer credits to get the deal done. And let me tell you, credits are the name of the game right now. Seattle actually leads the nation in this. Over 70% of deals now include seller credits. Sellers are routinely giving away $10,000, $20,000, or even $40,000 to cover a buyer's costs. Repair credits are back too. Buyers aren't skipping inspections anymore. I recently got a $15,000 credit because of some old repairs. Sellers are also paying to buy down interest rates. They're paying to get a buyer's rate from the high sixes down into the mid fives, even the fours. That saves the buyer hundreds of dollars a month. If you won't offer these credits, you're risking your home sitting for months while everyone else sells around you. And you might think that because prices are flat, the buyers have all disappeared. That's not it at all. They're still here. They're just playing a completely different game than they were before. If you walk through any open house in Seattle right now, you might see 10 groups of people inside. Here's the thing, only one of them is actually going to write an offer, and they'll probably wait 3 weeks before they even do it. So many are out there looking and exploring. Pending sales in the city dropped 7% at the start of 2026, but we're starting to see more people apply for loans now that rates are finally leveling off. People still want to buy, and they're just acting a lot differently than they were 2 years ago. It really comes down to the math. Buyers are looking at their budget, asking if they can actually afford the payment for the next 5 or 10 years. If they can't make the numbers work, they're out. If they're on the fence, they're just gonna wait to see if a better house pops up next week. We also have a big mental hurdle in Seattle because our market lives and breathes tech. Those jobs cuts you're hearing about are creating a lot of what-if scenarios for people. Since late 2022, Amazon has cut about 27,000 corporate jobs. Last year, they announced plans for roughly 14,000 more. Then in early 2026, another 16,000 roles were added to the list. So altogether, we're talking potentially over 50,000 corporate jobs impacted in just a few years. When someone gets laid off, it doesn't just stop that one person from buying a house, it makes all their coworkers start worrying about their own jobs too. For every person let go, you have 10 other people who decide to put their big plans on hold. That ripple effect is a real thing, and it's making buyers feel a lot less confident across the board. In a minute, I'll explain why this isn't a market crash, but you can see how this nervousness is keeping things from falling too far. So what can I say? For now, if you're smart about your price and your home looks great, you're still going to find a buyer. It's just going to take a little more time and a better plan than it did back in the day, especially with this big issue most sellers are completely missing. About 50% of Seattle homeowners are locked into mortgage rates below 4%. That means the people listing their homes right now aren't usually choosing to sell, they're being forced to. Moving means giving up that low rate and taking on a new loan at 6% or higher. For most people, that math just doesn't work. But here's the shift. For the first time since the rates spiked, there are more people with mortgages over 6% than there are people with rates under 3%. This means the people listed right now usually fall into two groups. You've got optional sellers who could wait but want to move for space. Then you've got motivated sellers who don't have a choice. These are people moving for a new job, going through divorce, just needing cash fast. We're also seeing return to office rules forcing people back to the city. Amazon and other big companies now require workers to be in the office 5 days a week. That's pushing people who moved way out during the pandemic to sell and move back closer to the city. These must-sell homeowners are the ones taking price cuts and offering big credits. They're the ones setting the new lower prices for the whole neighborhood. Once those prices are set, every other seller has to deal with that new reality. Optional sellers are watching this happen and feeling the pain. They're realizing that if they want to sell, they're going to have to compete at the level the motivated sellers have already established. This is creating a lot of frustration for people who feel stuck, which brings us to the big question. Is the Seattle market actually crashing? You might see the headlines and think the sky is falling, but the data tells a completely different story. The gap between the prices we saw in 2022 and what's happening in 2026 feels like a collapse, but it's not that simple. This feels so intense because sellers had all the power for so long. Going from total control to actually having to negotiate feels dramatic, but this is just a normalization phase where things are finally getting balanced again. Inventory is up, but the market isn't flooded. We're sitting at about 3 months of supply, which is actually a pretty balanced market. A real crash usually needs 7 months of homes sitting on the shelf, and we aren't even close to that. In fact, the market's already picking up as we get into the spring. Experts are saying prices will stay flat or even go up about 2 to 3% this year. That's what stabilization looks like. We also have huge projects like new light rail lines opening in March. That's going to make it way easier to get to places like Mercer Island and Bellevue, which always helps keep property values strong. The reason this feels like desperation is that there's a huge gap between what sellers expect and what buyers can pay. Sellers who are still pricing their home like it's 2022 are finding out that buyers just won't go there. Closing that gap is uncomfortable, but it's just the market doing its job. Doesn't mean the market is broken, it just means things are coming back into balance. And that leads us to exactly what you need to do differently to get a deal done. Hoping the market is going to magically shift back to the golden years is an expensive mistake. If you want to win in 2026, you have to go back to a real estate strategy. All comes down to how you execute. That starts with your price. You've got to price it right from day one. The market knows if you've made a mistake within the first week. If you list too high just to test the waters, you're going to end up with a stale house that's even harder to sell later. Buyers see the history. They know how long you've been sitting there, how many times you've cut the price. Get it right from the start based on what's actually selling now, not what your neighbor got 4 years ago. Condition matters again too. Homes that are ready to move into are still getting multiple offers in some areas, but if your home needs work, expect to sit there and negotiate hard. Buyers have choices now, so they're looking for the house that gives them the least amount of stress. If you need to fix things up or get it staged, do that before you hit the market. This is huge, especially if you're selling a condo where the competition is really tough. Strategy is back too. You need to plan for credits from the very beginning. Assume you're going to help with closing costs or buy down their interest rate. Build that into your plan and your price so you aren't scrambling when an offer finally comes in. The sellers who are winning right now are the ones who accept that this is a different world and adjust their plan. The ones struggling are the ones holding on to 2021 dreams. The market doesn't care what you think it should be. It only cares about what it actually is. The Seattle market in 2026 is all about buyers having the upper hand again. If you're thinking about making a move, the plan you use matters more now than it has in a long time. If you want to chat about your own house and see what it's actually worth right now, send me an email at hello@mwagnerteam.com. I can walk you through the numbers and the strategy so you know exactly what to expect. And if you want to see why some homes are getting stuck and how you can avoid that, go ahead and watch this video right here. I break down what causes homes to stall, how to fix it before you even put the sign in the yard.